Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for finishing out your year with us and for joining us. We are so excited to have you here and to have this time with you, and can't wait to hear all of your student work. So what this is going to look like, if you want to click through the links, there we go. So we're going to do just brief introductions, tell you about a little bit of background materials that we have to share with you. And then we're just going to get started with some project sharing and hopefully open it up for lots of networking and conversations. So, yeah, my name is Audrey. I'm an education specialist. I'm so proud of the work that we've done this last year to support teachers and students in one of the most remarkable times we've ever seen. You have all risen to the occasion and been just so magical. So my pronouns are she and her, and my background is in special education and early childhood education. So I love talking with teachers about ways to use Soundtrap to support students that maybe struggle to learn and struggle to read and write, and represent themselves by speaking, singing, rapping and rhyming. So I would love to connect with each of you after today too, if that's possible. And a few things that I want to point out that we have available to you in the slides are loads of resources that we have been curating and collecting and gathering to support teachers and students, and as far as music making, podcasting, special education, and storytelling. These links are embedded in these slides and you'll have access to them forever. We'll just make sure that you get them in the link. I'm sure Serena's already added it a few times. Serena's the magician with links, so we're really thankful for that. And yeah, keep on clicking. Thank you. Yeah, so we have loads of articles and use cases to share. And actually, this is a shameless plug. We're really hoping to feature some of you in articles just like this, talking about and featuring the work that you're about to share with us. So if you are interested in being featured on our blog or in any of these types of articles, please keep in touch with us and let us know, and we'll hook you up with that team that does that. And so there are some music making articles and blog posts, and then we also have a handful of storytelling articles and blog posts. Now, I want to just quickly practice a strategy that we're going to use for commenting on student work. And so we're going to use the waterfall technique. So for those of you that have heard that, it's where you sort of like hold your applause. Basically, you're going to be taking notes in the chat as you're listening to someone speak about their student work, but please don't hit send until their session is complete. And we will like pause, ask them how that felt, the presenter, how it felt to share that work. And then we'll give you the green light, and you'll all press send, and the presenter will just be showered with your praise and questions and comments and feedback. So in order to practice that, let's do it right now. I'm going to pause and we're going to be quiet for one moment. Would you please jump in the chat and let us know your name, where you teach, any social media handles you have, and something good that happened to you today. And so we'll take 1 minute, write that information, and don't hit send. And then, oh, Bill, don't hit send. And I'm going to say green light, and everyone's going to hit send. And don't worry, Bill, this was perfect that you did that, actually. So now I can say, all right, hold your comments. Let us know your name, where you're teaching, your social media handles, and something good that happened today. And when I'm ready, we will say green light. And now we'll all just sort of pause for a second too and read this. And for those of you that do a lot of online teaching, this is a strategy that I learned about that helps reduce cognitive load. We all know that we've been in a million Zoom calls lately, and when that chat is going off continually as you're trying to present, you're sort of torn and pulled in a couple of different directions. So this waterfall technique makes certain that folks get feedback and get comments, but it's all at once, and it gives then folks time to read it. So that was beautiful. That was perfect. Thank you so much. And we'll sort of, like I said, we'll do that while folks are presenting. We'll hold our comments and send them all at once, but please feel free to be taking notes in the chat as they're presenting. So I think that's all the talking I have to do. Anything I'm forgetting, Taylor?
I don't think so. I think I'll take it over. So hello, everyone. I'm Taylor Hahn, pronouns he, him. And my background is in music education, in case you didn't know. And so I was teaching drumline and percussion lessons in the Dallas area and here in Austin, this is where I am now. And so I have a couple of things I want to take us through. Many of you probably know a little bit about our Soundtrap courses, but in case you don't, we have them. We've got 3 levels of them, and we've freshly updated our little badges. So if you are the type of person that likes to have your badges in your email, you can do that now. The links are here. You can also just kind of do a quick Google search for Soundtrap Certified Educator courses. We also have student versions of these. So especially if you're like, oh my gosh, I am still not ready for Soundtrap. I'm not the expert yet, but I want my kids to get started. You can just send them the YouTube link and I will help them get started, or Recorded Robot Taylor will help them get started. So yeah, so that is a resource for you. It's there and free. We have also something I want to point out, which is our community, which includes you, but our platform for communicating with our community are our Facebook group and this other link, which is our teaching community. Last I checked, which was about an hour ago, we have 5,400 teachers in the Facebook group. So a lot of great sharing happens there, sharing articles, sharing lesson plans, helping each other figure out problems, helping each other figure out how they're going to work with a certain class, all kinds of stuff. So I highly recommend checking that out and joining that group. And then I have one final announcement, which I am very excited about. I could talk the whole time about it. I won't. I will briefly try to describe it, which is this project that's coming up this fall called the Soundtrap Anthem. The goal is to have it ready for you all on September 1st of this year. And it's a virtual ensemble that will be provided for the Soundtrap community that everybody and anyone can participate in to either play along or sing along their part to the Soundtrap Anthem with everybody. So probably by now, most people understand what a virtual ensemble is and how you can use Soundtrap or use different tools to record remotely and then put it all together and then at the end present that virtual ensemble piece. So that's what we're going to be doing. In case you aren't aware of that or need another example, I would highly recommend checking out Eric Whitaker's virtual choir. He's done 6 or 7 of them by now. Number 4 is my favorite, but it's a similar model where anybody can participate, and we hope that you will. We hope that you and or a group of your students or an individual, even just one student, we would love to have them participating. So this is just a little teaser for that. Get excited, stay tuned. And then if you are interested, you can go to this bit.ly link and sign up just to make sure that when we do announce that and start passing out the parts, we know to send them to you. So that is the Soundtrap Anthem and a couple of things about our community and courses. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go ahead and just move right into sharing teacher projects. So we've got our education specialist team here. We've got our extra special group of Soundtrap producers here to present what they've worked on. And we've got an extra special collection of teachers here to share some work that they've done throughout the year. We're not going in any quite particular order, but so what I'm going to do next is introduce Lawrence, who was, I don't think, able to be here. And if you are here, Lawrence, shout out, and I'll let you take it over. But we've worked with Lawrence for a while, and I've been inspired by his work for actually a few years. When I was discovering Soundtrap and kind of getting into this whole music education area that I'm in now and we are in now, I discovered Lawrence as really, honestly, a leader and a visionary in the music education space. Oh, literally, here he is. Lawrence, you have perfect timing. I was just introducing you, saying that you are awesome. I've been turned on to your work for a couple of years. Lawrence created and runs YPG Young Producers Group in the Los Angeles area primarily, but he can tell you more about that. And he can also share about his student work, this project that they did this semester. That's pretty awesome. Let's see.
Wow, did I really show up at exactly the right moment?
That's literally impressive. The exact right moment. You have great time. You must be a drummer.
What's up, Taylor? Hello, everyone. My name is Lawrence Gray. Thanks for having me. Yeah, this year, Soundtrap played an absolutely critical role to everything that we did in LAUSD and a lot of other school districts beyond. We worked with a after-school division of LAUSD called Beyond the Bell. They work with dozens of schools around the district, and we worked with them to put on what we called the Beyond the Bell beat battle. So, you know, we had close to 50 students participate in submitting over 100 songs across the district. Everybody's using Soundtrap within Schoology and LAUSD. And it was amazing how kids were able to come together with a pandemic going on, you know, being able to connect with each other, hear what each other are working on. And for me too, being able to find all these talented kids that had gone, you know, totally under the radar for us with Young Producers Group. So it was incredible. And we, you know, we're talking with the district about doing 2 beat battles next year. So it clearly resonated with people at the school district and the teachers and the students that participated. Yeah, we were able to connect with a lot of really amazing artists and people within the music industry to serve as judges. And it was just an incredible opportunity for the students, and everybody got so much out of it. So why don't we play the video, and then I can talk a little bit more after and answer any questions that folks might have.
Perfect.
Beyond the Bell teamed up with Young Producers Group to put on a beat battle for LAUSD students. Producers, vocalists, and instrumentalists submitted original music to be judged by leaders in the music industry. Winners are getting gear like audio interfaces, headphones, and instruments, as well as a mentorship meeting with a judge. What you're hearing right now are the winners of the instrumentalist category, 2 YPG students from Roosevelt High School. This track was written by Sergio Blanco, and it won him his first place prize in the producer category. The Beyond the Bell beat battle fostered a creative community and brought students together online when they couldn't be together in person. We put a spotlight on the amazing talent in LAUSD and demonstrated that not even a global pandemic can dull their creative light.
Yeah, so here we see Sergio. He was already using Fruity Loops for a few years before coming into this beat battle. But it was we were able to take our Soundtrap curriculum that we use in our classes across the district and make it available to everybody within Beyond the Bell. So, you know, a bunch of agencies, we set up a page on Schoology and made it available to those students. And yeah, you know, when students were not able to use the computers in school, the Chromebooks that they were made available to them, for me, having every kid in LAUSD have access to a computer and every kid in LAUSD have access to Soundtrap, in terms of access to the tools of music education and music technology, this was, for me, by far, you know, the biggest silver lining in the COVID cloud. And working with Taylor and the rest of the Soundtrap team to figure this out was really inspiring. And I just can't wait to build on our successes this year and actually get back in the classroom and really leverage all of this. If you guys are interested, you can, find us on the internet, Young Producers Group, or on Instagram. You can find our website, youngproducersgroup.com. I'm Lawrence. That's Lawrence at youngproducersgroup.com. If you have any questions, thank you, Taylor.
So thank you very much, Lawrence, for sharing that. And what Audrey and I have a little structure for feedback set up. So Audrey, can you walk us through again the waterfall activity and what's next?
I sure can. Well, everyone in the chat is like finishing up their notes about your presentation, Lawrence. I'm just going to ask you, how did that feel to present to us? And then is once you're done answering that, I'm going to tell everyone to hit send, and you're going to be showered with praise and comments and questions and feedback. So how did this feel to be our very first presenter at the Heart to Heart Summit today?
I really enjoyed speaking with you guys. I'm very proud of what we were able to make happen this year and the music that came out of it, and to be able to share what the students were able to do with other teachers and other educators as a gift. So I could talk about this stuff all day, and I really appreciated being able to share it here. So all smiles on my side.
That's perfect. All right, friends, let's shower Lawrence with praise. Go.
Oh my God. Wow. Folks, this is making my day right here.
Right. Okay, so while you're reading that, Lawrence, and feel free to answer the any comments online or offline, and then we'll move on to the next presenter. That was amazing. All of it. So thanks, Taylor. Go ahead for the next one.
Cool. Lawrence, you see any questions that you want to address? It seems like mostly.
There was one question here that I see from Erasmo Martinez saying, did you guys have a space for students to showcase their creative process through this challenge? Yeah, so we had, I visited several classes, other young producers group staff swung by, different Beyond the Bell agency classes on Zoom, and talk to students about the music they were making, listen to it, because we weren't judges in the process, right? We wanted to help everybody make the best music they could. So going in there and being able to answer questions, hear things in progress. And we also did, with agencies that wanted it, we did professional development with those staff members to help get them oriented to Soundtrap, oriented to curriculum. And we worked with them on kind of their process of leading students through it. So we got to see it at kind of, multiple sides. But yeah, it was really all about the creative process. And we had, the Schoology page set up where students could be asking questions, communicating with each other. So yeah. Any other questions here? I think that might have been the only one. Oh, so did you get sponsors for the prizes? So, Young Producers Group has been doing this work for many years, and we were able to, draw on kind of years of connections and network building. So, we have a great relationship with, Focusrite and Novation and Ableton and Artifon and, all these other companies that we've known for a long time that really support our work. So, it was able to they gave us all those prizes for free, which was hugely appreciated. So I think that might have been it for the questions. But guys, thank you so much for all the incredibly kind words. And anybody who's interested in doing a beat battle or getting their hands on some curriculum and professional development, we're very easy to get a hold of.
Beautiful. Well, thanks again, Lawrence. We're gonna keep it moving and grooving.
Beyond the Bell teamed up with young.
I'd love to hear it again, but let's skip it. Okay, so Serena is going to give a quick intro to herself and a teacher that's been doing some great work. Serena, are you there?
Yep, thanks. I was having computer technical difficulties a little bit ago. But hi, everyone. I'm Serena Robinette. I'm the education specialist for the Southeast. Feel free to reach out to me for anything, serena@soundtrap.com. Super easy. And I have some cool things to share. The first of which, on the next slide.
Yep.
Sorry. That's okay. So we have, so there are two things I wanted to share with you that I created yesterday. So if you are doing podcasts or compositions in your classroom, I created this playlist template. Essentially what it is you have students add their podcast to a slide deck, and you can have all of your students' work in one slide deck. So feel free to take those, use those, make a copy. Yeah, so you can add your students' audio, their name, their description. So this is just a great way for students to submit their work that houses all of your work.
All in one spot. Beautiful. And the composition, is it very similar?
Yeah, it's almost identical.
Okay, cool.
And then so now I wanted to share one of my districts in Canada. Rob shared with us this video. He's also here on the call. Hey, Rob. And wanted to share some of the student work that he's done in his class.
Cool. So I guess we'll play it, and then Rob, since you're here, we'll give you a chance to respond to some feedback and say what you want to say. Sound good? Okay.
Hey Soundtrappers, my name is Robert Harablik from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and I'd like to showcase some student compositions from this year. I created 4 lesson plan assessment checklists, which you can find in the Soundtrap lesson plan library under Music. Checklist 1 is a teacher-based assessment. Checklist 2 is a student self-assessment. Checklist 3 is a peer assessment, furthering the ability for students to share their music with others. And checklist 4 is a group collaboration assessment. An arts grant gave us the ability to hire a local musician to record some live tracks for us. Students were then able to add to these different styles. These additional library sounds will be made available to all. Here is a student project based around a rock style using Soundtrap sounds. In addition to style, we also focused on musical form, developing sections within our music. Additional discussion was on the emotional element that music carries, such as in this tribute to Kobe Bryant. This student also color-coded Soundtrap sounds with Los Angeles Lakers colors.
Like I would watch Magic play, I'd watch Michael play, and I would see them do these unbelievable things, and I'd say, you know, can I get to that level? I don't know, but let's find out. Upon a time, there was a young basketball player who had dreams of becoming one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
Some students even chose to record themselves playing through MIDI devices at school and home. We even tried a group collaboration project with over 60 students. Each student replaced the sound title with their name. Here's the project in the beginning stages.
out down. So you go out, so you feel down. So you go out down. So you go out, so you feel down. So you go out down. So you go out, so you feel down. So you go out down.
Awesome. Rob, are you there?
I am here. Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Awesome.
Audrey, is now an okay time for everyone to drop their comments?
Let's do it. Yeah, that's probably a better workflow. Everyone, 1, 2, 3, go. And now Rob can sort of comment on any of the feedback that he's been given. That's probably a better use of time. So this is so good. This is so good.
That's awesome, everybody. Thank you so much. I think the biggest advantage that Soundtrap has given us, this is the first time that my school school district used Soundtrap, and it was largely because of the pandemic that we got interested in a platform like this. We look for the positives in COVID, whatever, they can be. And I don't even think a platform like the Heart to Heart Summit that we're having right now would be as accessible for people had we not been on Zoom calls and, all of this for 18 months, right? People would find this very, very foreign. So the fact that we're, worldwide and can meet with people throughout the world in this platform is absolutely incredible. Furthermore, Soundtrap gave myself and the students a platform to even the playing field musically a little bit for students that don't feel they necessarily fit into a regular band program, regular guitar and strings program, didn't really maybe enjoy their elementary music experience for whatever it was worth. The Kobe Bryant Project is a good example of that. A kid who traditionally struggles a little bit fitting into a more traditional music program, if you will. We had to think very outside the box this year with things and allow students to explore in a much different way and allow teachers to explore in a much different way to keep music in the curriculum. And so because of that, we had sort of a evening of the playing field, and students were allowed to use sounds that they're hearing in their head, in their music that they're listening to, and almost legitimize it in a sense inside of the music classroom. And I think that is the biggest takeaway for me, is that legitimizing. I can create a song that sounds like something that I'm currently listening to? Yeah, go for it, experiment. And the stuff they come up with was just incredible. And so, okay, now explore a different style. And they would with one heartbeat, and they're into, a rock style if they focused on hip hop, whatever it may be. And the collaboration feature was just incredible. We were looking for something in the division with a collaboration sort of element to it. And we were able to collaborate with not only students within the classroom, but all throughout the school, throughout our different cohorts that were set up, as well as between different schools. And so what a cool concept in a time where we couldn't really be together as such, had to be, 6 feet apart, etc. Soundtrap allowed us to remain a little bit closer. And wow, what a cool tool, and I didn't think I'd be here with it, and I'm here with it, and my students, followed me in the journey, and I follow my students in the journey, and we learned from each other. And when we didn't know something, we all looked it up together, or somebody knew it because they encountered that same problem. Super cool. I just want to point out as well, Serena was very generous throughout the entire experience as well as Audrey and Taylor. I watched your videos in the education piece, so thank you for those, and everybody else on the team. Serena's also posted those loops, so if you are interested in accessing the loop library that I was referring to, that was part of our arts grant, all the loops are there. You just have to set your key and tempo to what the file says, and you're good to go. But thank you, everybody, and thank you, Serena, for this experience. It's been great.
Thanks, Rob, for sharing. It's so awesome to hear.
Rob. So good.
All right, let's keep it moving. I can't remember who's next, but I'm sure our slides will tell us. Let's see. Justin,
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Justin Grimes, and hey, Lawrence. And I'm an education specialist on the West Coast. Yeah, the teacher that I really want to share today, he's on the call. His name's Messiah. He's a teacher within LAUSD. Had the opportunity to meet him, I think it was back in January, and it was a session that Taylor and I hosted. And from then and there, we've definitely just been in contact, and he's shared a lot of projects with me that some of his students have been working on. And one in particular that we're going to listen to coming up shortly is from a student.
You want me to jump to that one?
But yeah, so we can play the clip, and then I'll allow Messiah to talk about it afterwards. So
Thank you.
Life is indeed beautiful. There's always a reason to be grateful. Open your eyes and see how wonderful. Waking up every day feeling hopeful. Life is somewhat a fairy tale book. There are things possible by hook or by crook. Turn around and then take a look. Mesmerizing beauty, you will be hooked. Everyone's life is like a flowing river. It gets better as you move in further. The next hour, you're the same no longer. Going back to the past will happen never. So live your life for what will be. Will be, stand, and lit up like a Christmas tree. Whatever happens, don't be a maybe, as nobody is everyone's cup of tea. Anyone can't ever be your owner. In life, you are the controller. In anything you do, you are the holder. Be your true self and become bolder. Just like a bird, go and fly freely. Do all the things that make you happy. Live your life like it's your last day. Chill, relax, and smile permanently. Life is indeed.
thank you. And I think Messiah is on the call. So Messiah, we would love to just hear the inspiration behind your student's project.
Yes, hopefully everyone can hear me okay.
Yep, sound great.
Okay, great. First of all, I want to thank Jocelyn and Taylor for supporting me. I can tell you right now that I was two left thumbs with all this, but I wanted to provide technology and this experience for my students. I work in South Los Angeles, in the heart of South Los Angeles, and many of my students were hit by COVID, and it really devastated our community. And I wanted to build us up from the ashes from that. I also survived the 1992 uprising. I remember how it took our community some time to heal our collective soul. And I thought that Soundtrap would be a good vehicle to start that process at my school. So not only did Brandon utilize Soundtrap, my entire English classes, I taught all of them in the middle school, they all had a chance to be a part of Soundtrap. I even let a PD where my teachers helped me make beats, actually. So I made sure the adults had it. So Brandon is a 7th grade student, a very precocious young man. He's good in everything that he does. And I gave a quick tutorial on how to do Soundtrap. Brandon did this all on his own. He found the raccoon beat. He found the poem that he recited. And it was just almost like a healing in our school when I was able to share this with students and with our administrative staff and our entire staff. So hats off to Justin and Taylor again for your wonderful support. And the impetus for Brandon was trying to rise from the ashes from COVID.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Messiah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Messiah. On the count of 3, let's shower Messiah with our comments and feedback. 1, 2, 3.
Messiah, feel free to react to any of that. Looks like just praise all around, but if there's any questions or anything else you want to say, Messiah, go ahead.
I feel like I belong to a worldwide community of change makers, and I'm very humble that I'm a part of this. Brandon is he's only 12 years old. She's just finished in 7th grade, and I believe our students can lead the way in terms of as we go forward with as we have a new normal. Guys, thank you just so much for the affirmation. I appreciate it.
Beautiful. And what you said there, Messiah, really resonates with me and makes me feel grateful that you feel that's true, that this is a global community doing some beautiful stuff. So we're glad to have you, and I'm sure there's much more to come. All right, Michael Mello, I know you're here, and I know you've got some great stuff to share. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. I'm more fluent in Google Meets than Zoom, so if I share the wrong, it says I can't share.
Would you like to share your screen?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. I will take this off, and now you should be able to do it. And if not, I will. I might need to click a button or two.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I know this is what I need to do. I need to make you allowed to record. Hold on, sorry.
No, it's cool.
What an awesome group I'm looking at right now, though. This was actually a really nice pause and break to like separate from the screen, the slide deck, to now look at the whole group. You are a beautiful lot of human beings. Thanks for joining us tonight. This is so fun. Oh, you're so happy and joyful.
Thank you for vamping for me, Audrey. I don't think I can.
I got you.
A co-host. Does anyone else know how to do that? I thought I would just be able to click on.
Oh, and maybe it's actually, maybe I should not be vamping, Taylor. Maybe I should be. I bet I can make.
For Michael, what can you do?
Sorry.
Come to the front of the line. Put him in the VIP.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault, Michael. I can't actually see the screen is the problem. Okay, here, it's me, Taylor. It's my fault. Assign, allowed to record. No, chat, stop video. No. Okay. Well, I'm gonna make him a co-host. We'll see if that
maybe I'll just keep trying to share as time goes on, and I'll just go through.
I think now, try now. You're a co-host now.
Okay, I'm gonna exit out of that screen.
Be careful, because with great privilege comes great responsibility, Michael.
Yeah,
this is serious business here.
Yeah. Still not able to share screen.
Okay. Well, maybe let's
desktop
do
one. That's fine. We might just be able to listen to it then.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'll pull that back up, and then I'll let you talk with that same.
Cool. So my name is Mike. He, him pronouns, and I did a project with a book called Nighttime Symphony by Timbaland. It's a 16-page book about a storm during the night in a city, and the illustrations by Christopher Myers and Kyle Illustration are really captivating. And so to introduce the software to them, we created a Nighttime Symphony theme together. We used the drum patterns, a common drum pattern for them to experiment to see how to put in rhythms for the hi-hat, bass, and kick. And then showed them a little melody with a piano roll and how to input melody and maybe get adventuresome on a melody, and then also how to add loops. So that beginning theme was really basic. It was just 4 bars of a pentatonic scale, and they got to choose one of 6 different loops. So here's just the intro theme. So besides the piano loop, that was all like entered manually, just so that they knew that that was an option. And then from there, we chose a page. So each student or group of 2 chose a page to create music for. And all the pages in this are really interesting and dynamic and unique, and has a shorter line of text, maybe just a couple lines of text. And so we were able to interpret either the illustrations or the text on those pages to create something. And the only kind of real guidelines I gave is that it had to be under a minute long, and you had to have some sort of transition. And so we were finding loops and melodies and beats that matched the vibe of our page and text. And if there were two different vibes in the same page, how did you transition between them? How did you end one section and start the other? How did you end your entire page, and what effects might you use? So it was heavy exploration. And then they also had to record their voice with their creation and think about exactly where they wanted that with respect to their loops and where their music was going. And then also talked a little bit about delivery. So it would be easier to see exactly what pages they worked on, but a lot of the exploration was really focused. And then once you see the entire back-to-back pages, you can see a deeper story that is told because the students interpret it in their own way. So I'm going to try one more time to share my screen. And if that doesn't work, we'll just move forward.
Alrighty. I will stop sharing. Oh, I'm not even sharing my screen, am I?
You're not sharing. Yeah, I think we're good. You should be able to share your screen.
Okay, I'm trying to.
So
portion of screen.
There we go.
Share the whole thing.
And sound, share audio.
I am not able to for some reason, but that's fine. So there's a page that has mostly rain, and streetlights are the focus of it, just going back and forth. And so here you can hear one student's page, and they created their own drum beat with streetlights on either side of the road as a drum beat, or as a bass and a hi-hat going back and forth, combined with the Nighttime Symphony theme, and then they recorded their voice with spacing.
Should I go ahead and play this video, Michael?
Say what?
Should I play this video?
No, I got, well, actually, yeah, play it. And then I think it's at like 2 minutes.
Okay, I will do
that. Yeah, so here are the illustrations. So this is one student's creation, and then I would just put their entire creation as a waveform. Here it is. So the back and forth is represented as the streetlights in the drum beat. And then, so that was one student's interpretation of that illustration and that text. And then if you want to go all the way to like 12 minutes, we can see the ending. And this is something where the student really surprised me. If you could put on pause for a second. After they recorded their voice, they were able to take their learning about how to extend the loops and how to cut loops, to cut up the theme as well as to loop their own voice. So this is the final page of the book. Still with the Nighttime Symphony theme.
The storm was just like a lullaby.
The storm was just like a lullaby. The storm was just like a lullaby.
And then they bring back the nighttime symphony theme. And that's how the book ends. So we had a lot of fun creating with this and finding different things about finding different ways to transition or how to combine different music together to create some sort of coherent message.
Awesome.
Michael, my team knows that I'm going bananas in the background because I'm a sucker for anything children's picture books. So thank you for incorporating children's literature in this. I think this was an amazing way to use Soundtrap. And so I want you to hear from the rest of the participants. Everyone, 3, 2, 1, shower Michael with praise, please. This is really awesome.
Thank you.
One of my favorite projects I ever did was with the book City Dog, Country Frog by Mo Willems. And same thing, it had students retell the story and using only loops and pre-recorded loops and sounds. And it was such a special activity. So, Oh, look, I love this. LaFuji's gonna do this.
Yeah. My students were 5th graders.
Awesome. So good.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Taylor, back to you, friend.
Okay, let's keep it moving on. So now we're going to hear from a couple of our Soundtrap producers who if you were part of the summit this spring, you met. I believe LaFuji is up first. LaFuji, are you there? And should I play this driver? Tell me when to click, or do you want? Yeah, did you say yes?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. There we go. Okay, so we've got some beautiful, awesome stuff from Can You Feel the Love Tonight? I've actually got it already pulled up, so let's close this. So shall we watch it first and then you'll give us a little explanation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here we go. Come on, computer, you can do it. I believe in you. Let's do this.
I was pretending to dance to fake people out to think I was the only one hearing it. Comedic relief.
Beautiful.
There's a calm surrender through the rush of day, when the heat of the rolling road can't be turned away. An enchanted moment, and it sees me through. It's enough for this restless warrior just to be with you. Can you feel the love tonight? It is where we are. It's enough for this wide-eyed wanderer that we got this far. Can you feel the love tonight? How it's laid to rest. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best.
Is that a good spot, LaFuji? Oh, now, now I can't hear you. You're muted now. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Gotcha.
All right. I'm not sure what's happened. I do apologize. Hope you
You're
can see
good
me,
now.
but my entire screen just went black. But yes, this was a pandemic production, and it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot from Mr. Jake Sanditsky and Matt Miller, who was just awesome at the summit. And they talked about using Soundtrap in video. And when we were doing our theater production of Lion King, one of the things that we encountered this year was licensing, which was a licensing nightmare. Just trying to play the project for parents and students. So we decided to do our own version, and that version was produced by our chorus teacher, Cedric Meekins. He attended a workshop that Audrey and I did, and wow, you can hear his takeaways. It was absolutely amazing. So he produced the entire soundtrack there that you see inside of Soundtrap, and I helped him out a little bit with the mixing, and it was just a wonderful experience. So there it is. Soundtrap just comes in and just saves the day again. Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Well, you've saved our day countless times this year, LaFuji. So you've been such a gift to us. Everyone, do what you do. 1, 2, 3, go. Thanks, LaFuji. So beautiful. I almost cried, actually. I also really appreciated you giving a shout out to Jake and talking. I love how many folks have pointed back to the previous summits, Summit 1 and Summit 2. For those of you that haven't seen any of that content, I'm begging you to go back and look at that. You will be dazzled and impressed and inspired. And we're eager to start planning for the fall summit too. So thanks for pointing back to that, LaFuji.
Absolutely. They're so rich that you have to watch them more than once to really, soak it all up. So shouts out there to Matt Miller and Jake for just an excellent presentation that was relevant to what we as educators and instructors are going through today. And that was just excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, and props to you for taking it up and making it happen with your kids. All right, let's see. I think we've got Dr. Andy Edwards in the house. Andy, are you there? And well,
I am here. Beautiful. How's it going, everyone? Okay, my presentation for today, it's a little bit similar to a few of the others that we've seen, but I like to call this my speech and monologue project. I teach music technology full-time in a high school. So all we do is take non-musicians that have missed their opportunities in band, chorus, and orchestra. For the most part, they're not those students, and teach them about music. So this project always comes at the point where we're teaching about diatonic harmony for the first time. And when they get the opportunity to make chords for the first time, it's always a great experiment to see what they come up with. But their whole goal in this project is to actually capture the emotion of a particular monologue, poem. They can write the poem themselves if they want to, but a speech that's been famous before, and begin to add chord progressions to it. So I'm just going to get in and play some bits and pieces of 3 different ones. I think this first one is a very basic level one. So you can get the idea of what like the most basic concept would be here, and then I'll play a little bit more advanced ones.
I am Asian. In a time where we need to stand together, We need to band together in unity. The sufferings from us Asians need to be brought to light. We can no longer be submissive, quiet, and bow our heads down to the aggressor. We must band together to overpower the majority. The model minority myth is a lie, and we can.
So that's the first one. Let's start. This is obviously a little more complicated. They've actually taken the chords and began to play them as repetitive chords to gain emotional content and the such. I'm gonna start this one kind of in the middle. Start a little bit back to the beginning.
Everything I have become is unbearable. I am awful and I must change. I like someone. I am obsessed with them. They must adore me the way I adore them. We will be best friends. This is the start of something ginormous, and I'll look back on this first revelation and we'll laugh at our journey. Someone gives me advice or shares an idea. I research it like crazy and decide this will be the thing that changes me. I say goodbye to something in my life and mark it as a giant chapter, a pillar of experience, and I mourn as if a part of me has died. Maybe I just start waking up an hour earlier, and I start dreaming of my new life as an early bird, someone who wakes up to watch the sunrise and go swimming as a way to introduce the day. Today, I watered flowers, and was convinced this was a turning point in my life. I dreamed of the changes being a morning gardener would bring, and how I'd tell struggling people of the way that filling up a watering can as part of a routine saved my brain. I've been called dramatic. Why does every little thing they go through have to be some monstrous event? They're so pretentious. Chill out. Yeah, it's exhausting. I have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
So there they've got a lot of adding and subtracting of the ideas to create the emotional hook in the middle. And then here's another one that's got a lot of fun goodies in it.
Surrender to quantum consciousness, which gave us all that we be. Can't you see? And it is all for free. Your soul, your mind, your heart, your body, your potentiality, your actuality, your spirituality, your reality. We get it all for free, so why can't we give it all back easily? Surrender to quantum consciousness, which gave us all that we be. Can't you see? And it is all for free. Your soul, your mind, your heart, your body, your potentiality, your actuality, your spirituality, your reality. We get it all for free, so why can't we give it all back easily? Surrender.
Woo. Yeah, so I just have them express themselves by picking things that they're passionate about. I want the kids to do something that they really care about and then create the chord progressions that highlight and accentuate those emotions at that point. So that's it. That's the project.
Amazing.
That was incredible. And I love that Michael got excited and said, that's the best kind of interruption or rule breaking, Michael. So you're forgiven. We love it. Everyone, 1, 2, 3, go. That was so good.
To comment on the thing about the pacing that's the students, I make sure to tell them that they can't read it. They have to voice act. I always make sure to say that you're voice acting, you're not reading. And as soon as I made that change in the way I explained everything, that really helped them be like, oh, I don't just hold the paper and read it.
Yeah, you can tell, like, that was so well done. Oh, deep. I needed that. Oh, I love this. You guys are the best. Like, I'm gonna carry you all around in my pocket, and whenever I need a pep talk, I'm just gonna like say, okay, everyone, 3, 2, 1. Tell me
Waterfall.
something good.
Thanks, guys. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was great. All right.
All right. I'm going to bring up our next guest. Joining us from planet Earth, some of our beautiful Soundtrap teachers. Molly Peters is up and has some really cool Foley artist stuff to show. Molly, let's first, can you hear us? Can we hear you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, sounding great. And do you want screen share, or should we just follow these?
That would be awesome if you
let's do
could.
it. Yep. I'm
I
gonna
put these links in the slide, like the thing I'm going to share you is a forced copy if anybody, so anybody can copy the Google.
Okay. Awesome. All right, try now, see if you can share.
It looks like I can, and share my sound. Okay, so I just need to change clearly I was sharing something weird and specific with my kids before school got out. Okay, so I teach choir and guitar. I'm just north of Los Angeles, the north end of the county. And Soundtrap definitely was a lifesaver, obviously, for the ensemble projects. I mean, we used it for all of our virtual choir stuff. Another project that the kids did that they actually said they really liked and will probably incorporate it for the future was we did these Valentine grams. So they recorded, sing along with the karaoke track, and then we put it into a Google slide, and they could send the slide out to friends and family and whoever they wanted to send their Valentine to. So I really don't know how, I would have done this year without Soundtrap. But then as a performance teacher, you guys probably know, you get to the point where it's like, okay, there's 3 weeks left in the school year and it's not enough time and everybody's burnt out and we don't want to do any more virtual choirs. So this kind of came out of a project that I had done previously with my 7th and 8th graders in like an exploratory music class. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to see if I can figure out a way to make this work on Soundtrap. So I literally took the project that we did and just sort of digitized it. I think that there's I think you could definitely loosen up some of these parameters that I had set. So like, basically they were given, these specific video cartoon clips and, they had to do the sound design. It's not a true Foley project. So apologies if anybody here's a Foley, artist, but, it was, and then there's these parameters I have in here, it has to be a minute long. And then I, just kind of going through step, and some of these things were edited and added as the kids were like, but how about this? I'm like, good. I point and I'd go type in and clarify because it was like the first time we'd done this. Anyway, they came up with some cool things. So they would go into Soundtrap and line up, they'd pick their cartoon clip. And then my student teacher and I sort of made this like map to say, okay, like about, from the opening to about 2 seconds, there's a horse trotting and then the horse is neighing here to help them kind of line up. And then once they finished their Soundtrap project, they sent it to me as an MP3, and then I used iMovie to sync it up with the cartoon. That's one of the things that I really like about Soundtrap is that it's web-based and that the kids don't need an expensive Mac to do it, right? I mean, there's things we can do in a Mac lab at school, but when everybody's home or 75% of the kids are home and 4 kids are sitting in front of you in the classroom, I mean, that's just like not something you can depend on. So I did a little bit of the heavy lifting, but what they did is, so they gave me their MP3s, and then I just put everything onto a Padlet. And then actually something I saw in the Soundtrap group on Facebook, which I'm totally going to do next year, somebody had to, like how art students and art teachers will post art around school, posting a QR code, right, with a description of the project, and like, so cool. So I'm going to be doing that. That like, for me, just like blew my mind. So these are, you know, all of the high school kids projects. And then I made a separate Padlet for the junior high kids. Some of them worked in groups, some of them wanted to work alone. I think probably in a normal school year, it obviously would have been more, I wouldn't have let them work alone, but it's kind of hard to be like, I don't know this person like at all. So I ended up with quite a few, but I'll show you just a little bit of two of my, Bill, you are famous. So like this was one of my high school groups. I'll play a little bit. So, you know, whoops. It was fine. It was a lot of trial and error. I don't think they did. I think the sound map, like, you know, the thing me saying, well, this is about the time that this happens. And then like, if I opened up this studio, you know, we talked about changing it to the time up here instead of the measures. They have the measures for some reason. And I had them put the guide track in. So back on this thing here, there's a link to this Google folder, which has all of the MP3s. So I ripped the sound, and then that also helped them line it up. In fact, that was another one of those trial and error things. It was probably easier for them to do it with the file in front of them than trying to like time it, you know, here or here. So yeah, and it was fun, and you know, it was really successful. But yeah, so it was a different way to use Soundtrap. It was different for the choir kids. I think it was kind of like a nice like way to end the school year, something that wasn't so singing focused and performance focused, but still a way for them to explore all of the different ways you can use Soundtrap. You know, some of them put like, if you click through some of those Padlet links, like some of them are hilarious. Like they put one group put the Grammarly commercial in, you know, the one that comes up on YouTube all the time. I think it was the same group. There were a couple of roomy kids, you know, and so they wanted to get like a squeaking window sound. So we like wheeled the Chromebook into the bathroom and like, you know, got the microphone, and we were trying the whiteboard cleaner, and then we were trying the standard cleaner, and to see which would give us the squeakiest squeaks. And it was a really fun, it ended up being really, really fun. So yeah.
Wow, Molly, that was so fun, so exciting. And I broke my own rules. Sorry about that. I got a little click happy, and we made sure to include, well, Serena made sure to include the link to Bill Rank's Facebook post about the QR codes that Molly's talking about, because that was an amazing use of Soundtrap and making it accessible and visible to everyone. So he made a beautiful bulletin board in the hallway, and it really stuck with me. So I love that. Yeah, I love that you loved that too, Molly. And thank you for being so generous and sharing all of those links. Everyone, 3, 2, 1, let's shower Molly with our love and adoration. Oh, so good.
Yeah, I'll while we're going with the next one, I'll find that, and it's a Google slideshow presentation, and I'll put a forced copy link in too, because that was really cool too. But yeah, no, it's the kids, like what I've just noticed with all these projects is like the kids just, you know, people might think, oh, a 7th grader can't do that, but you know, I disagree. Like I think a 7th grader can do, you know, and some of them were better than others, but like we all laughed, we all were like cracking up. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I just think it was a big success and just a way for them to, it's one of those tricky things where you're like, aha, but now you have to find the sound loops and you have to find the sound effects and all this stuff. So
genius.
Yeah.
What an awesome project. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Molly.
Thank you.
All right, Taylor.
Awesome. Next up is Anna. Are you there? And do you want me to share the slides or do you want to share your screen?
I would like to share my screen, please. Can
Take it
everyone?
away.
Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Anna San Germano. I teach 5th through 8th grade general music in Chelsea, Massachusetts, which is basically like Boston. So I was going to share just a little lesson that I made. I have kind of a weird schedule in that I only get to see my kids for about 5 days in a row. And then there's about 14 weeks in between. I get to see them again. So I have about 5 days to teach something, get them excited about something, get them feeling proud about it, and get that editing process in there as well. So it's a lot in a small amount of time. So I'm going to share my screen, and also on the Soundtrap, the Soundtrap, what is it, the Heart to Heart Google Slides, I put a copy of the lesson itself so you can follow along. And this lesson was a 1-day lesson for my smaller classes, a 2-day lesson for my 35 plus classes. And it was an introduction to the automation panning. And we started talking about sound distribution, like where is sound coming from and where is it going? And how can we create kind of a 3D experience in our head with that sound? And so at this point in time, my students had already known they're comfortable with the loop library, comfortable pulling loops, using loops, editing loops, cutting them in any way and form. And we had just gone over audio recording as well. So that was their big thing in their head. They loved like recording their voices, recording YouTube videos, any memes and stuff like that. So let me just share my screen. I should be able to. I don't think I need to be co-host. You guys can see the screen.
Yeah, looks great. Perfect.
So I guess I'll open up just real quick. For those of you that are not familiar with Pear Deck is a fantastic Google-based extension. I was teaching remotely from March 2020 to I entered my school building at the very end of April. So I have spent about a month and a half in the building. So I was completely remote with about 700 kids. And so Pear Deck is really awesome for interactive based Google Slides. So highly recommend. So it starts off with their do now. And there's been this TikTok going around where there's this Tesla in the middle of traffic and he honks on the horn and all of a sudden the horn goes, sheesh. And if you teach middle school, you've definitely heard that before. And so the kids are obsessed with Tesla, and Tesla car horns can be customized to sound like anything. So at this point in time, any sound is on the table. And so they have 10 minutes to come up with their own unique car horn sound because they are the sound engineer right now for Tesla. So they'll come up with a bunch of stuff. And basically we're teaching them how to do panning automation because I'm having them visualize themselves as standing on the sidewalk. And then how can we make your car horn sound like it's coming from your left side to your right side, or like a car going by, honking on the horn? So that's the intro to panning. Very simple, top to bottom, right to left. Keep it simple, keep it easy. And then the kids they just go off. So I'll show some examples. I let them go ham with the panning. They thought it was super cool. So I'll just share some. So we got some simple ones here from the loop library. We got combinations. I thought this one was funny. I got very lazy, as in I clicked on the sample that said car horn, and then I played one piano note. This one's pretty cool too, because the kids, no matter what they're doing, like so far we've seen a loop from the loop library, we've seen MIDI based drawing right here and a loop sample. This child copy and pasted their MIDI drawing as well. I mean, like if you're going in and doing the piano roll and adding it manually that way. We also kind of spoke about how your car horn can't be lasting a whole 45 seconds because I don't think you're going to get your point across nor move very quickly. So they got crazy with the YouTube videos. That one said, "Get out of my way." Very effective car horn, I would say. And this one has to be my all-time favorite. Like by far, like that's definitely going to get people's attention. They're going to get them to move out of the way. And that's just like a little simple activity and an introduction to sound distribution through the panning automation. And then I tell them to go back and to explore more with the two effects that go really well with sound distribution, which is 3D and room. And then that's basically it. So thank you guys so much for the opportunity to share what I've been doing with my kids and what my kids have come up with.
That was so fun. I was laughing the whole time. And the kid that wrote you a note in the title is like my favorite. Like, tell him there's a chat feature for that, but it's okay. I love that he did, or they wrote a note in the title. That was so classic. Okay, that was so funny. Taylor, do you have something? Okay, no, Taylor's counting us down. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Let's tell Anna how amazing she is. And you're sharing those slides with us, right, Anna?
Yeah, those should be totally copyable. Please let me know if there's like any sort of like you can't grab them for any reason.
Come on. That was so fun and funny. And Meredith is in the room too. And she used to do an awesome lesson with creating ringtones, having students create ringtones. So like you're, going a little more current with forget the ringtones. Now we're making our Tesla horns. So that's way more relevant right now. So it's so fun. All right, Taylor, take it.
All right, we've got 3 more. So we've got about 15 more minutes. Next up is Craig. I know you're here, Craig, and I have slides I can share, or you can take over the screen. What do you think?
If I can take over the screen quickly, I'll just share some. Yep. So I'm from Ottawa, and I've been doing workshops in between touring before all this, and then this was just a tool that fell into our laps. I connected with Dan. I can share, and I will share this. And so I just want to talk about four short things that we achieved in the year. So we ended up moving our workshops online like everyone did. Share sound. We all introduce everything we say when we're speaking. And the idea for this was to stay connected with kids instead of dealing with all the blank screens. So the first thing that's come out of this is every class we'd visit remotely, we would write a song. Like we had to have a song by the end. It was like it scared the crap out of us as artists, all the students who were participating. But the benefit of it was that we could tease out stuff about them. And so, and it was the best carrot I've ever seen because literally they could see us creating in front of them, which was never possible before. It was always, let me send this back to you. And then, pardon me, in this case, we launched a Friday series where we would take the class songs, and I'll share the link. And we branded it under this idea of whatever the school board's name is, and then Kids Collab. And I was so lucky to have all of the students who didn't want to do co-op placements or who wanted to do music but couldn't this year. And so they got all the jobs. They were in charge of organizing artwork. They were in charge of like uploading to DistroKid and doing this. And lots of free labor, but like lots of learning opportunities. Like kids coming back to me and saying like, how do we deal with this copyright issue? I'm like, I'm not sure. Let's figure this out and like document so we can go through. So that's the biggest thing that came out for me is that we have 200 plus songs that have been released and are scheduled in queue that are written by students. They're ridiculous and heartbreaking. Lots of like summer love songs that kind of got written up until this period of time. Like, well, will we be able to date? I'm like, I don't put it in the song. And then just having kids see it for real was like this really proud moment, and doing little coffee houses like what we're doing to share the music with them. I'll let you guys listen to them. So that's the main thing we did. And then there's 3 projects that I'm really proud of that I want to share with you. So we were approached by a group called iGen, and they do community connections between seniors and youth. And as I'm sure it was the case for everybody, connecting with our families was tough, but even like people who don't have families. And so this organization would normally like do mentoring or buddy reading pairing or like a slew of activities. They couldn't do any of it. So we ended up using Soundtrap to go into long-term care centers and have students connect with seniors and do interviews. And some of the like 90% of the content that I wanted to use, we couldn't because it was just so spicy, but excellent and honest. And you just saw these students like being treated as adults, asking questions like, what do you remember? What's your, like, what was the first song you fell in love with? And then having to edit those down into pieces. And so from all that work we did with different seniors and then different classes, we boiled it down to this 5-song EP. And so the one that I'll just put the link in the meet, but it was, the reason I fell in love with it is because it was a kindergarten class that we were interviewing right before their recess. And if you can imagine, like, that's the worst time to ask kindergarten kids any questions because they're just like, Jesus, you better, like, you better let us go. Like, you can hear it in their voices. And we were just talking about the idea of, like, you call your, I don't have a grandma, I have a yite, or I have a grand-mère, or baba, or babushka, or whatever it is. And so just all the titles for all the different people who are important to us. So I'll play a bit here. Are you hearing audio from me?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, and do you have a grandma or grandpa?
Yeah.
What's your name?
My name is Nina.
What's your grandma or grandpa's name?
Baba, and I remember the name Philip.
Philip, Baba and Philip?
Yeah.
Do you have a papa? Say yeah. Do you have a lala? Say yeah.
So this was one example of songwriting that was collaborative and like super low tech. Like using the device feature, dealing with staff who are like, we do not have time to record seniors or set up FaceTime calls for you, and the ability to do either FaceTime or problem solve through Soundtrap was a big boon. The other thing that this showed for us was we could take any issue that was happening and connect with a community group and connect with the school where a teacher had the passion or interest, and then we could be a force for good. So it's like, this teacher cares about this issue, whatever it is. This community group would like to find some way to connect with students and to further their mandate. Well, let's write a song about it. And so this came out of it, and they're just hilarious. Like, and the question that was always asked every 5th visit was, who gets the money? And so any money that is generated for any of these tracks goes back to the educational foundation that the Ottawa School Board has set up. So I've got 2 more things to share really quickly. This is, so the kids collab, these are all the scheduled releases. I want to talk to you about getting credits for making music. So most of the time I never got to record. I didn't record till I was done university trying to figure it out. And so we had all these students who were musically oriented and didn't have the outlet or didn't have the experience. And so they were doing co-op placements with us where they were helping manage tracks, teaching teachers, like just being helpers, taking responsibility. And in one case, Elliot Gibson was with us and sang on at least 100 tracks. Like, I gave them the worst jobs. I was like, you need to double all these vocals. And they were like, I'm going to triple them. Like, they were that kind of student who shows up at 8 in the Google Meet that you've set. And you're like, you're not supposed to be here till 8:30. So Elliot is, I'm so proud to know them. Embarrassing things that happen where they would keep turning their camera off. And I was like, we have to lead by example, put your camera on. And Elliot took me aside and was like, I'm legally blind and people don't want to watch my eyes right up against the screen, Craig. So back off. And I'm like, got it, Elliot, perfect. And Elliot had original songs that, as we got to know one another better, came to light. And I'm like, Elliot, you're amazing. Like, you need to record these. And so Elliot, with the board contact who piloted this program, Cameron Jones from the Ottawa Carleton School Board, said, well, why can't they get credit for writing an album, like a writer's craft credit, or why can't they get a music credit because it meets all the criteria? And so working with him, working with Cameron, and working with Elliot stopped helping with workshops, and Elliot started working on their own music and received 2 credits. And so these were the files that we worked with them on. They did all the arrangement. They used the pool of musicians that we drew from to collaborate, and it was just so cool teaching them to be a musician. I'm like, you have to ask. Like, what if they say no? Like, what if they don't want to play on my album? Like, you have to ask, right? Like, and they're gonna say no. They probably won't say no, but like the idea of like gaining that confidence and having to manage it from beginning to end. So over a 6-week period, Elliot earned 2 credits, like final year credits that were approved, and released an album. And just to give you a sense of like the level of editing that they did, and you go back in the revision history, and this was the best tool, where Elliot's like, I didn't save earlier versions. And it's like, yeah, you did. Like, going through it with them and being able to say, you don't need to write the test that I made up for you about the thing you're never going to play for anybody else. It's right here, right? And you're showing us the revision. And it was interesting because, just like, it's a barrier to recording and like working with multiple screens. And Elliot, sorry, I hope I have it here. So this is all the work that Elliot compiled for their project, and I'll wrap up. But it was like on TikTok, they were posting videos of their progress in process. And I'm like, this is the best thing ever. It's like, I'm really feeling nervous about this take. I'm not sure. And it was proof. It was public. It was right out there. So I've talked to you about Elliot creating opportunities for students to actually like create an album, not just talk about creating an album, not just like kind of do an exercise, but like, here, it's done. We've talked about every student writing like embarrassing either love songs or like ridiculous, like Sneeze in Your Elbow was kind of one of our school board hits. And I want to talk to you about the last one, which is I talked to you about iGen, which is the idea of pairing seniors and youth in writing songs. And the last one I want to share with you is at the beginning of the year, January, we were approached by a group of students from the adult high school. So Ottawa is cold. I don't know where everybody's from, but Ottawa's really cold. And housing and evictions are a massive issue. Like, it's an issue for everyone, but when you're getting evicted in -30 in the end of January because you haven't been able to work because you're sick, like, and this group of adult students came to us and said, we want you to write a song for us about this issue. Some of them were living in shelter at the time. All of them didn't want to sing. None of them had any formal training. And so in a 7-day period, we said, we're not going to write your song because it's your voice, it's your experience, and you have to sing. Even if you speak, you have it has to be your voice. And they said, it'll be terrible quality. And I said, well, why did you want to do this in the first place? Why did you want to record a song instead of doing anything else you could have done? And they said, well, there's so much noise right now around this issue. Everybody's ignoring it. If music is recorded, we can go and try to get the music played or talk, like music gets through. And I said, well, then do you really want a slick vocal recording, or do you want the cell phone scratchy recording where somebody's like, why does it sound like that? It's like, well, the person was singing it from the COVID isolation portion of the shelter. So this is a song I'm really proud of. Everybody didn't want to sing. All the men, my age and older, did not want to sing. And this is what they ended up working and releasing.
Eviction. Always on my mind. Always on my mind. Can't work, can't afford to get there. Safe places are hard to find. It's not affordable for me and my family. Eviction will come eventually. habits on my mind. Can't work, can't afford, or get sick. Safe places to rent are hard to find.
So that's kind of it. Like, it's been the best. I've been doing music part-time, full-time for the last 25 years, and during this time also put out an album. But by far, even though it's just been the hardest time for art, I've put out more music and helped more music come out than I ever have in the same period of time. And I shared it before, but just in summary, I feel like Soundtrap's like, it's definitely a music tool, but I also feel like it's like a mental health tool, because suddenly all these kids become super powerful. And the examples that have jumped out for me and what's been shared is we just gave it to the kids and they ran with it, and look what they came back with. Like, we got out of the way, and we believed in them, and they were allowed to speak whatever their truth is. There's lots of fart songs and like ridiculous humor. There's like so much of it, and that's awesome. But there's also these gems where you're like, this is like I've never had these thoughts at this age, and would never have had the confidence to communicate. And so I feel lucky that to have had access to this tool, and this time over the last year to like leave toys and leave sandboxes around in schools and encourage them to keep creating. So thanks very much.
I love calling it a sandbox and leaving it there. And it is a mental health tool. And thanks for calling attention to that. Wow, I'm sort of stunned. And I still have the first song. Do you have the grandmother one? That was my favorite. That was so good. Thank you for being so, just sort of perfect at capturing what Soundtrap has been for folks and teachers this year. That was really lovely. And in 3, 2, 1, let's let Craig know how amazing that was to see and hear. And I love this Spotify channel. So good. This is really beautiful. One of my favorite things that Michaela Bly taught us in the first summit that we had back in the fall was that it's best practice after a student shares or performs or presents, before giving feedback and before telling them your impressions, giving them the opportunity to tell you how that felt. And so that was kind of our goal with this, but just because of time, we really can't do that so much. But I would encourage you to follow Michaela's advice. And when you do get students to perform for the first time, make certain that before you tell them what it looked like and felt like and sounded like to you, that you give them the opportunity to share back. That really has stuck with me, that advice. Any closing thoughts, Craig?
No, just I've appreciated listening to what everybody else is doing, and it's just some really neat, like, and that nobody's like, we haven't all introduced as like, oh, it's such a hard year, and like it's like really lovely, like it's like a lot of like joyful stuff.
You're exactly right. All right, Taylor.
Thank you again, Craig. That was amazing. Next up is Sage Satterfield, who also might recognize from our summit earlier this year, one of our Soundtrap producers. So I accidentally almost skipped over him, but Sage, you have the floor. Take it away. You can share your screen and show us what you got.
Thanks, guys.
And then just so we know, we got 2 more after that. We've got, I think, Justin and Esther. So take it away, Sage.
Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for being here. Craig, you're awesome. I thought yours was incredibly inspiring, and everybody else, just like, I've gotten so many excellent ideas today. So thank you guys. I'm going to be really short and sweet. I just wanted to showcase some actually body of student work right now that we're kind of currently judging and deciding on at our school. I teach Soundtrap in Detention, so it's a unique environment. And we use our website as a huge communicator tool of all like projects and everything that we're doing. And it's just student work that I'm very proud of. I'd say all but a couple songs were completely Soundtrap created. on there, and I just wanted to share it with you guys to see what some students are making. I do want to forewarn, music is definitely a reflection of environment and everything, and a lot of my students are pretty hardcore. Now that doesn't mean the music is hardcore, it's all radio safe and everything, but there's a lot of kids who I feel Soundtrap has given an enormous voice to, and it's just so nice to see them succeed and feel success, in that. And I just wanted to share this with you all. A couple links. That's our student showcase in the chat there. And then this is our music page in case you want to follow along with any of our projects at the very bottom of the page or any of our tutorials. But that's essentially what I teach all my students. There's a couple outstanding, let me share my screen here. There's a couple outstanding ones that I did want to show you guys. This is our student showcase, of course. There's a couple songs that you see, there's a bunch of student work on here. And this is cool for our students because in detention, they don't have access to music. So we're creating our own kind of catalog for them and all future students to listen to. And it's kind of a cool time capsule like project that we've been working on all year. And it's been made through, you'll see that we have our regular student showcase of exemplary work, past contest winners of students who have actually competed. We did a school-wide vote for who won, and then pure student creations of anybody who wants to submit something that they are proud of. We put it up on there for them. And I wanted to play you just a couple quick examples of these. A lot of these are shorter, but I think most of them are pretty excellent too. This is by a student who left recently. I make sure to give my students all certificates of just musical achievement based on wherever they land in the whole spectrum of creation, Soundtrap. But I really like how a lot of you guys reflected on this being a program for non-traditional musical learners. That made a big impact on me when I heard that said to amongst this group. And it's just nice to know that you guys are dealing with the same kind of caliber and type of students who are truly brilliant as we are in detention too. So without further ado, here's a couple of just tracks from here and then I will be wrapped. And this was made completely in Soundtrap. The vocal was cut outside of Soundtrap, but then we embedded it back in. So.
Press a button and then I'm on go. 200 the back and it just for a show. Remember the nights I had nowhere to go. Now I got niggas still in it, jacking my flow. Like, watch me switch up and change up the mood. You try to rob me, then boy, you the fool. I was hungry, no one hand gave me no food. Now I live by the whip and I die by my tool. Like, it be crazy, it feel like I made it, but now I ain't made it till I count 100 mil right in their faces. I know I ain't basic like one, let's face it. I'm trying to be top 5, one of the greatest. I beat it back in and she yelling amazing. These old ass rappers, they getting outdated. My vision was clearly, I see niggas hate it. I go Super Saiyan like I'm animated. I promise my mama we gon' move to acres, and that's when I made it. I'm sipping on till I'm lazy and faded. Like, press a button and then I'm gonna go. Watch me two-step when my levels on froze. I go get the money and never gon' fold. Play with it, I boom from the head to toe.
So there's one. And then another one I really wanted to highlight too is I like to teach my students pacing with just a click track, which I think is super valuable. And this is one that was recorded just on a click track, and then we produced music around it. And I won't play the whole thing for you, but just a part of it here. So she recorded this just to a click, and then we produced music around it totally. And I know we're on time constraints, so I'll stop it there. But please feel free to check out the links. And thank you guys so much for giving me some time to share here.
Sage, you used the word in detention, and I think a few folks might have thought you meant like 1 hour after school detention. Would you take like 30 seconds and tell us what you about your facility?
I work in Durango Juvenile Detention Facility in Phoenix, Arizona. So our students are detained, as in they are under arrest. And we have a population mostly from West Phoenix, and it's a lot of kids who have grown up really hard and who they asked me if I wanted this job, and it was an absolute yes, because of the population who I feel like could benefit the most from learning music. And they had Soundtrap when I got there, and as soon as I dove into it, I said this is the perfect tool for them to be able to express themselves musically without having to be an individual piece of an orchestra. They could learn to create the whole thing themselves. So that's kind of my background on this.
Oh, stop. Oh, so good. You are such a gift, and they are so lucky to have you. Everyone, let's tell Sage how cool he is. 3, 2, 1, go. That was magical. So good. Oh, the Fuji. All right. Oh, so good. Thanks, Sage. All right, Taylor.
All right. So we got 2 more. Esther, you're up next. Would you like to share your screen, or shall I do it?
Yes, I'll share my screen.
Beautiful. And we're making perfect time. So feel free, Esther. So keep your original plan. You got your time. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. So my name is Esther Keller. I'm the librarian at IS 278 in Brooklyn, New York. And this year, because of the pandemic, I was thrown into the classroom. I was told I could teach whatever I wanted. And so I decided to go with a project that I actually had abandoned, that I was collaborating with teachers as the pandemic shut us down in March, which was a student podcast. But at the same time, one of my colleagues told me about Soundtrap, and I investigated, took the PD that was offered in New York City. And from there, my principal actually purchased the license for our school, which was an amazing thing because I didn't know how to do this if I was working remotely. We had a combination of remote and blended students, but I was working mostly on the remote end. So I decided to do podcasting. I love audiobooks, and that's sort of where my interest in podcasting comes, but I am not an avid podcast listener. I started by actually sharing with my students this list, and I can present it, and I could also share the link with you in the chat of just different podcasts that the students could listen to. So I put this in my Google Classroom. We actually listened, and we started by just listening and analyzing podcasts. Some of my students were podcast listeners, some had never heard of it. So they needed a basis of what is a podcast. And we analyzed them. What were the sounds? What were the structures? Again, this was just really, these are just a collection of different podcasts that we want. And I based it a lot off of also the NPR podcasting challenge. Originally, I was hoping to make the contest, but then mid-year, I had a program change, and I started January 26th with entirely new classes. So I didn't have enough time to work with the students to create the podcast. I met with some students only once a week, and some students I had 2 times a week, and some 3 times a week. So I was sort of working all over the place. After we sat and we analyzed, I started to create organizers for my students. But the next important thing, I guess I put it in here, and I had actually, and now I'm not sure where it is. I thought it was in this folder, which was, I don't see it, but it was basically, I found an infographic, and when I find it, I can maybe send it on and you could put it in the link, which is which were the different types of formats. So you have monologue, you have interviews and different things, and that helped my students a lot decide what type of podcast they were doing. And then based on NPR's idea was, what do you want to do for your topic? And if you see here, I literally just there like start by note taking over here. What is your topic? What topic do you want? Oh, this was an organizer, excuse me. I'm talking, sorry about that. But this was an important one, which was to develop your podcast topic. You know, what were your prompts? What do you want? Do you want to make it a personal story? Do you want to debate a topic? And I asked the students to please like base it on what is your personal interest? What do you like to do? Do you like to game? Do you like to read? Do you like to craft? Do you have a specific hobby? And then I asked them to, I sort of gave an example of how you can turn each one of your interests into a different type of podcast topic. And then using again the NPR questions, they have actually an infographic on the link that Serena put in the chat, thank you, which is, what's your story's driving question? What's the focus? What's the story not about? This was really important for the kids, like to keep them as really focused on what they want, talking about being balanced and fair. The dream ingredient was a really hard one to understand. I'm gonna need to reword that, but what are the elements that are going to make it engaging for your students? What is it? And lastly, I think this is a really key question, is what's the audience gonna remember when it's over? And these questions really help them plan their podcast. And I created this, and of course, with Google Classroom was able to make a copy for each student. And as we went on, the very, very last thing we did, which was talking about interview questions. And with that, I actually had help from someone at Brooklyn Public Library. They run their own podcast. And I thought she was a librarian, but she turns out that she is not. And she is not, sorry, excuse me. I'm sorry. Sorry, this big drama about the potato chips. Sorry. So anyway, basically, Virginia Marshall was the one who was really help the students interview. And I based it on some old research questioning skills that I used to do with the students for research. So what it ended up was that I sort of was able to blend that researching and looking into your personal interests versus creating it into a podcast. And the students just blew me away. We did very basic podcasting skills. I did not do that much on Soundtrap, but they did a lot. The real challenge was that so many of my students, because they were remote, they couldn't collaborate as easily, because not so much because of Soundtrap, that gave them the ability to do it. And I do have a group of 6 that did it together, but they didn't have a DOE email. You can't email each other. I can email a student, they can email me back. But they basically could not do that with each other. So it was a little bit of a challenge, and they didn't all know each other. They'd never met. They were all mostly remote. They were 6th graders who had never been in the same class before. So I really gave them the option to just do it alone. And we had so many different, results, and a lot of them based it on interviews, and they got their parents involved. And I had someone who used his friend's dad. Someone brought in a friend from another school. Now, I didn't get permission from all the students and their parents to play all of the podcasts, but this were some of them. I wanted to show you this one, even though I can't play it, but this was the work that the students here did. They were really, I don't think that I opened up the right one, but they were sitting there collaborating, and you can see just all the chat going back and forth. And I could not believe that 6 of them can pull this off together. It was an amazing feat, and they did a great job. But this was a great student, and I'll play a little bit of his intro. I just want to make sure, I think I forgot to share sound. I usually do, but I just went back and I did it. And this was a student who was just talking about technology.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to my little corner of the internet. This is Mateo Basada, middle schooler and video game enthusiast. In today's podcast, we will be discussing a topic that has affected every household in America in one way or another. I'm talking about the increase of screen time amongst Americans during the pandemic. But more specifically, how this increased screen time has affected kids my own age.
I'll just skip over a little bit where he interviews some people. I'm not exactly sure of the timing. I know he interviewed a number of people. This was a very long one. It was 7 minutes.
Or less focused than they once were.
Well, the truth is, there's nothing like in-person learning to keep a kid's attention. I'd have to say that since online learning began, I find that even my smartest students are less focused.
And Jeremy, how much of this lack of attention do you think has to do with the increase in technology use over the past year?
That's a really good question.
So again, this was sort of there. The interviewing was amazing. They really, really got it. I was so proud of it. And I really couldn't have done it without Virginia Marshall at the Brooklyn Public Library, because she really sent me on the right course of how to do it, how to practice with them. And then they went off and I told them it was like riding a bicycle. You know, when we're parents, we hold on the back of the bike and then we let go. That was what they just zoomed off, and they did an amazing job. And I really was proud. In the end, I'll just quickly show, I created a page. Again, that's where the permissions, and I was able to put them using through. So this is only a very short, it was only the students who weren't shy and their parents had to give me permission. Yeah. So between the two, it's
good. Fly, little birds, fly.
Yeah.
I love your analogy of the bike and pedaling away. Esther, that was so good and so special. And if you want to check the chat, folks gave you lots of positive comments. And Justin, you are up next. Take it away, and we'll let you. Actually, Justin, the only challenge for you is you have to close out the day. So you wish us well when you're done. We'll know you're done, and we'll give you some love. But you can close out the webinar.
Thank you. It's an honor to go last and wrap up after all of these great presentations. First, I just want to say, as a music teacher, I think everybody can relate to the fact of almost feeling like you're on an island, in the sense that we're the professionals on our campus in our content area. So, to be a part of a community like this, whether it be through the Facebook or being in contact with certain people, Justin Grimes actually was in close communication with me. So he kind of walked me through a lot of things. Dr. Andy Edwards, I think, I used your videos like all this year. Thank you for the walkthroughs and the tutorials and, the community of just helping everybody out. I appreciate that. So I'm based in Los Angeles. I teach at Arleta High School. I'm the instrumental music teacher. And like all of you, I had to adapt and adjust to virtual learning. Luckily enough for me, I had 2 shots at it. In the fall, I had a certain set of students, and then springtime, I got an entirely new set. So I was able to try different things out. I'll keep mine very short, very straight to the point. But my thing living in Los Angeles, what the students have access to here that's unique is the music industry. Outside of just being, a musician or a recording artist, there are so many different things you can do to be successful in music or audio production. And I wanted to highlight that because majority of my students during my second semester weren't actual music students. I had a lot of general classes. I was in the middle of building a band program, so I kind of lost that momentum, and I had to adapt my skills and, the things that I were comfortable with to help them out. So I basically did a setup of every week. You can see this is my Schoology. Soundtrap is right there, so convenient. every week I try to highlight a different part of the music industry. So whether it be ASMR, jingles, radio remix, we did like a DJ project, TikTok mashup, just things that the students were actually interested in. And then I kind of made lessons to work around that. They all were amazing. They loved them. I loved them. But the one that I do want to talk about is the jingle project. So basically, I gave my students parameters for the project, and basically they had to find a company, a store in the area, a local business, and write a jingle for them. This particular student, he picked Soundtrap. So he used to, I think he used FL Studio, a different DAW. Sorry, that's my mom. A different DAW to record, but he did an actual promo for Soundtrap, and I thought it was pretty cool. So I'll play that for you.
Do you want to get into producing? Do you want to be a Zaytoven, Lil Pierre Bourne? Are your beats sounding like this? When you want them to actually sound like this? Well, I got the solution for you.
Oh, we got a little issue with the, I think I might have moved the track or something around, but it's also here, so I'll play.
Do you want to get into producing? Do you want to be a Zaytoven, Lil Pierre Bourne? Are your beats sounding like this? When you want them to actually sound like this? Well, I got the solution for you. Soundtrap.com. Best free DAW music production software out there. Go test it now. In my Soundtrap, I can't do nothing wrong. Stuck in the room, cooking at them same songs. Yeah, he whipping up the batter, he ain't got no sauce. Feel like a superstar by the way I talk. In my Soundtrap, I can't do nothing wrong. Stuck in the room, cooking at them same songs.
So it's just a loop, you know, he talked about that. Everyone was a little different. Everybody's taste in music. That's the cool thing about living in Los Angeles. Everybody, all the kids are exposed to different things through culture. This guy liked moody rap, you know, that current hip hop sound. And I said, go for it. My biggest parameter is have fun. A lot of times as teachers, we try to set limitations, but as a music teacher, as a creative, I think that's the biggest roadblock you can tell a kid is like, you know, all the things that you can't do. So, of course it took time. Of course we had to start from, you know, ground zero, learning about how to navigate the actual platform of Soundtrap. But once they got it, they, you know, loved it. They pushed me to be creative. We're actually opening a music studio on my campus. So that'll be like the third pillar, band, choir, and then music production. I loved everything about Soundtrap this year. I look forward to being more active in the Facebook community and talking to you guys, collaborating. And thank you. Thank you for a great year. I hope everybody actually like unplugs and enjoy their summer because this was a tough one. I'm only 5 years into teaching, and I'm pretty sure for everybody this was the most unique year of your career. So thanks, everybody. With that, you know, I don't have anything else. So
Justin, everyone, like there's still 22 people left in this call that stuck around even after 6 p.m. That's how good you were. So I have two things to say while we 3, 2, 1 shower Justin with praise. Number one, in the chat where that kid said, Mr. Polka, you here? I just want you to go back in and type always. If you did that for me, that would make me so happy. And answer your mama's phone call. Go make sure you call your mom back. But everyone, this was the best night. I am so thankful. The Soundtrap team, Soundtrap producers, all the teachers that are here. Thank you a million times. This was just too special for words.
We will have all the links and all the videos and all the things shared either in email and or our Facebook group. So we'll make sure you get those. It might be Thursday before we get all the million links and videos together, but we'll get them to you soon. Thank you everyone for being here. This was really inspiring and really appreciate you all.
Yeah. Thanks a million times. Bye, everyone.
Have a great night.
You're magical.